Thanks for joining us today. My name is Alexandra Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of the Reston Historic Trust Museum, and May is National Preservation Month, so we're bringing you a special behind-the-scenes look at the museum. We're going to be talking about how we preserve Reston's history and give you a look into how we do that, and we'll be highlighting a few artifacts from our collection as well. Since May is National Preservation Month, we also are offering a special membership discount. You can renew your membership or could become a member during the month of May for only $23. That's up to $22 savings on our usual membership. It includes a $10 off coupon to our online gift shop, an extension of an additional 3 months to the membership, as well as several discounts at the various Lake Ann Plaza local businesses, including Lake Ann Brew House, Reston's Used Bookstore, the Lake Ann Coffee House and Wine Bar, New Trail Cycling, and Calypso's. And so you get a lot of different memberships. I hope you will consider becoming a member and helping us support our mission to preserve and share Reston's history. You can become a member at restonmuseum.org/membership. It's an annual membership and really comes down to spending $1.50 a month because of this special. So if you enjoyed today's tour or want to help support the preservation of Reston's history, please consider becoming a member. Before we get started on the tour, I do want to provide some background information about why preserving Reston's history is so important. Reston is a planned community that was founded by Robert E. Simon Jr. in the early 1960s. He and his team transformed over 6,000 acres of wooded farmland into a community that emphasized an individual's ability to live, work, and play within their own community. Today we can enjoy Reston's 4 lakes, which were created by Simon and his team. Mixed-use zoning was brought to Fairfax County because of Simon's planning. Reston was also an open community during a time when Virginia was resisting desegregation. And while many communities today feature fountains, trails, and public art, this was a new approach to community building in the 1960s. Our mission is to preserve and share Reston's unique history for current and future generations to learn and enjoy from. I hope you all have been to the museum, but if you haven't, please check out our museum highlights tour that we recorded a couple weeks ago. The museum's been at Lake Ann Plaza since 1997. In 2009, the space was renovated to look as it does today. We have a permanent exhibit and temporary exhibits where we rotate artifacts from our collection in and out. You can see images of some of our temporary exhibits here. We publish articles about Reston's history, we conduct public programming at Reston Community Center, and we celebrate Reston through our annual events, Founders Day, the Lake Ann Carport Boat Regatta, and Reston Home Tour. In 2019, we also expanded our exhibits outside of the museum. So we've done temporary exhibits at Reston's Regional Library, as well as installed a new permanent exhibit at Lake Ann Plaza of the Lakeside Pharmacy Icons. While rotating artifacts on and off exhibit is important, it's also imperative that they are stored properly, and this involves using archival materials. We have an infographic from Gaylord Archival featured here, which explains more aspects of collection management and preservation of artifacts using archival material and what that means. We use archival boxes, which you can see here as well. These are acid-free boxes. It allows us to have layers of protection, keep them away from UV light. It also helps us to keep the collection organized and keep the collection standing upright and not falling over. Artifact handling is another important way we preserve artifacts. We try to handle artifacts as little as possible, but when we do handle them, we think about what we are handling and what would be the best way to do that. For example, we make sure the artifact is properly supported, so we might use a tray or some other rigid support for archival material. If we're using our hands, we're cradling the artifact. Similarly, if we're handling something like a ceramic mug, which we actually have several in our collection, we wouldn't pick it up from the handle or the rim. We would pick it up from the bottom where you wouldn't have a part that could break off. Whether or not you use gloves when handling artifacts depends on the type of material of the artifact that you're handling. For example, gloves should not be used if there is a risk that the artifact could slip out of your hands, such as holding a glass artifact. And with paper artifacts, it's acceptable to not wear gloves as long as your hands are clean. This assists when you're turning pages so that you don't tear the artifact. All artifacts are assigned a unique number in order to properly track the artifact. This is a 3-part number separated by periods. The number is the year the artifact came in. Then it is if it was the first, second, third, etc. donation of the year. And finally, the last part is the unique number to that artifact. So for example, if we got a donation of 2 artifacts on January 1st, 2020, and it was the first donation of the year, the unique number for the first object would be 2020.01.001. The next object would be 2020.01.002. Here we have an example from our archives. This is a paper artifact, and so it is labeled with pencil. Depending on what artifact you're labeling, you would use a different technique, but for paper you can use pencil. And this number is also placed in the same location on every artifact that comes in for consistency, so it's easy to find that unique number. And so for archival artifacts, you put the number on the back lower right hand corner. Another way we organize and keep track of the collection is through a collections management database. We use Past Perfect, which is a typical museum software, but there are many others that museums use as well. This information is searchable within the database, but we also, using Past Perfect Online, we make our collection available to the public on our own website. So you can browse our collection online at restonmuseum.org/r-collection. Past Perfect keeps track of all the information we have about each object. You can put photos up here, so photos of the artifact when it's on exhibit, if any conservation work is done. You can also track its location, so if it's on exhibit or in storage, and you can keep track of that history, so you can see the last time it was on exhibit or how long it's been on exhibit. We also conduct inventories, and so having this location inventory allows us to keep track of the artifacts that way as well. We also conduct environmental monitoring. This is a new initiative, so once we have a year's worth of data to accommodate the different seasons, we will begin to adjust temperature and humidity to ensure a stable storage environment. This is particularly important because fluctuations in temperature and humidity can damage artifacts. Monitor the temperature and humidity. We use data loggers, which you see on the screen. You want to prevent that from happening, and so monitoring the environment and making the needed adjustments allows us to preserve artifacts. For this next artifact, I'd love to see if you all can guess what it is. So I'm going to pause for a moment here and give you a moment to look at it in more detail and leave us a comment if you want to guess what you think this artifact is. So this artifact is a whiskey sample bottle, and it is from the Bowman Distillery. A. Smith Bowman had owned the property before Robert Simon. He had purchased the property in 1923, and at that time, Reston was called Sunset Hills Farm. He and his family operated the Bowman Distillery, which remained in Reston for a little bit of time after the property was sold to Simon. Today, the Bowman Distillery is located in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Here we have a Reston Times article that is featuring when Lady Bird Johnson visited Reston in the summer of 1967. Her visit lasted more than an hour and consisted mostly of a walking tour where they visited Lake Ann as well as Lake Ann Elementary School, the Reston Music Center. She saw a Head Start program and the community center as well. While the tour was meant to be more of a private tour, word spread quickly that she had arrived, and so you can see here in this Reston Times article the crowd that had gathered to greet her. This photograph was taken by the Blue Ridge aerial surveys of Lake Ann during the winter of 1965 and 1966. The first residents of Reston had moved in 1964, so this is a very early photograph of Reston. Lake Ann was the first village center created, and you can see that here, and it's surrounded by woods. You can see today where development has occurred. In the far upper left-hand corner, you can see the golf course. This painting was done by Bertie Poston. She was born when Reston was called Wheelie and would live in this area her entire life. This is a painting of the Wheelie Memorial Methodist Church that she painted in 1978. You can see her signature down on the bottom, and she's describing the painting up at the top. Bertie attended the Cochran School of Art downtown for a year. We have 3 of her paintings in the collection, and if you'd like to learn more about Bertie and one of the other paintings we have in the collection, please check out one of our previous artifact tours, which goes in more depth. Thanks for joining us on today's tour behind the scenes at the Reston Historic Trust Museum. Feel free to continue exploring our collection here on our YouTube Museum from Home playlist or on our website, restonmuseum.org. If you enjoyed today's tour, please consider becoming a member. Now is the perfect time to do so, as our individual membership is just $23 for the entire year. So if you'd like to become a member, please visit restonmuseum.org/membership. Members are vital in helping to preserve the history of Reston, and you all receive discounts at the museum and other restaurants and businesses at Lake Ann Plaza as well. Thank you for joining us today, and see you next week.